Hello and welcome. Today I'm going to show you how you can find ETFs, and I'm going to place a specific focus on finding money market ETFs. The reason I'm doing that is because you are not allowed to trade mutual funds that trade with money market instruments. It's prohibited by StockTrak for some reason, and therefore we show you how you can find ETFs that trade with money market instruments. ETF stands for Exchange Traded Funds, and there are some characteristics of these funds. First of all, as the name suggests, they are traded on an exchange, and that means that they are traded in the same way as stocks. So you can buy them all the time or continuously. If you compare to mutual funds, they have a quoted net asset value, and therefore you can only trade them once a day. But the exchange traded funds are just like any other stocks. They trade all the time, the price goes up and down all the time, and therefore you might buy them now and sell them in only 5 minutes time if you would like. More than that, in some cases you can short sell the fund, and you could also sometimes buy on the limit. These funds are often index funds, and that is probably mainly for historical reasons, but the majority of the exchange traded funds are index funds. And that means that they put up a bunch of stocks or other assets that they are going to follow, and then they buy the same types of shares that's in that index. And that is on the contrary to actively managed funds, where you might have a manager that trades all the time and tries to find good deals. The difference is usually that a passive fund, or an index fund in this case, are usually less expensive. So you don't have to pay that much because they don't have a manager working with it. Okay, so how do we find them? Well, we start by going to the course website, to course materials, to portfolio simulation instructions, and then portfolio simulation guidelines. We scroll down to the bottom, and here you can see that we have 3 different ETF screeners. We have the Yahoo ETF screener, we have the Bloomberg ETF screener, and the one that I'm going to use today, the ETF database. The reason I'm using this one is mainly because it's easier to find the money market trading ETFs in here. So we click on this link and we get here. So you can find ETFs in different ways using this database. You could either use a screener or look by types or by country exposure or something like that. But the ones I'm going to use now is by categories. So you click on the link ETFDB categories, and then we get here. So now you might want to look at, for example, real estate funds or alternative ETFs, hedge funds or something like that, or perhaps a specific area. Maybe you're interested in financial equities, or perhaps you would like some more diversification, so you're looking at foreign small and mid-cap equities or something like that. But the most important here is that we can find the money market category. So click on the money market, and then we get a fairly low amount of ETFs. There are only 7 ETFs available for us that are trading with money market instruments solely. So I'm going to base my decision on the ones with the lowest expense ratio. And as you might know, a money market instruments are supposed to work pretty much as having your money in the bank account. You don't expect that much return, but on the other hand, you don't expect to lose that much. So for me, the most important part is to keep the expenses low. Look at the expenses, the expense ratio, and we find that one with the lowest expense ratio here is the SPDR Barclays 1 to 3 month T-bill ETF. Okay, so we have the symbol BIL. We now go to StockTrak, and since ETFs are traded on an exchange, that means that they don't have their own category here, but you trade them at the same place as you trade stocks on the exchange. So you click on stocks, you then go and enter the symbol, and you get the, in this case, ETF here. You see that the last price was 45.80. Okay, and maybe I would like to buy 3,000 of these, so I can preview the order. I see that would cost me approximately $137,500. Okay, that seems fine. That's how much I would like to put in something that corresponds to a bank account. So I place the order, and now when the market opens the next time I will purchase these. Okay, so what other type of funds might I want to use here? We go back to the screener again, the ETF database, and go back to looking at categories. Before, I've mainly purchased stocks in the US, and all the mutual funds I've had have also been focused on the US. So what I would like to have is to have a fund that has a more international focus, and I'm going to focus on equity or stocks. This is the same if they trade with equity, that means they trade with stocks. And I'm also going to take a chance and hope that the small firms in the world are going to perform quite well. So I'm going to look at the category foreign, small and mid-cap equities. Now, again, I'm going to focus my decision based on the expense ratio. So I only have 13 ETFs here. I might want to look into them in detail if I really want to make this decision properly, but today I'm going to focus only on the expenses. So I look at the expenses and I see that this is actually quite low expense ratios. If you compare it to mutual funds trading with global stocks or international stocks, they all had fairly high expense ratio, whereas these one have quite low. Okay, so I find that the one with the smallest expense ratio is the International Small Cap Equity ETF with the symbol SCHC. Okay, so that sounds good. I copy this. Now, we might want to take a little bit of a look on this. So if we click here, we can find out more information. For example, I'm interested in if they really do trade in stocks or if they trade in something else. So I go to holdings and I find out also where they invest. So here we can see that they have mainly international stocks, and if we look at the sector breakdown, they are quite diversified, whereas if we look at the region breakdown, they focus quite heavily on Europe. So maybe this is not a very good place to invest in today if I believe that Europe are going into more trouble soon. On the other hand, I might believe that Europe is about to turn around, so that the economy is going to do well again, and then this might be a good idea. But for me, that's fine. What I'm more interested in is, are they actually trading only in stocks? Okay, so we look at the asset allocation. We can see that they have 5.10% in other types of assets that are not stocks or bonds. They have a little bit amount in cash, but the main part are in international stocks and US stocks. So that's fine for me. They have the main part in international stocks, which I wanted. And then I'm going to just note this other part and the cash part. Okay, so we go to StockTrak. We place a new order. Again, we need to trade in trading and stocks because we're trading on an exchange. Okay, just have to wait for the game. There we go. So we enter the symbol here. We see that we have found the stock. As you can see, this specific ETF is actually not traded that much. So yeah, maybe it's hard to get into the stock, or maybe the price changed a lot, so I would not like that big exposure to it. That means I'm only going to purchase 200 of it. Okay, I preview the order and I see that this will only cost me a little bit less than $6,000, which is not that much, but let's try and see how it performs. Place the order, and now we are done. Okay, so if you would like to read on exchange traded funds before you start trading with them, then you can go to section 4.6 in Bodica and Marcus, and there you can find information you need on exchange traded funds. So that's it for today. I hope this helps you find the ETFs you would like, and especially the ones trading with money market instruments.